Hey guys, what's up? Lightboltjoe here. Today we're going to discuss the 2017 action comedy adventure film, The Fate of the Furious. So this is the 8th movie in the Fast and Furious franchise. I have not done a review for Fast and Furious 1 through 7. I have been putting it off extensively because it's going to be very hard for me to talk about them in light of Paul Walker's passing. Now, I know it's been 5.5 years since he passed away. The 7th one is particularly hard because he passed away in the middle of filming, and there was his brothers involved with finishing the 7th, but we're not talking about the 7th, we're talking about the 8th. So with these films, it's at a point where you can't really understand the full depth of these characters unless you've seen all of the other films, because it's pretty much a soap opera. Who slept with who when, and who's back from the dead, and a lot of stuff, a lot of drama. But it's that core value of family. And what's best about these films is that they're filmed on locations. So like the 3rd one, for instance, took place in Tokyo. It was filmed in Tokyo. The 6th one, for instance, had majority of the film taking place in England, and it was filmed in England. The 5th one, majority of it took place in Brazil. This is Brazil, and it was filmed in Brazil. So this 8th film starts off in Cuba, and this was the first film to be filmed in Cuba, first blockbuster film to be filmed in Cuba since the Obama administration lifted that ban on Cuba. And then when Trump took office, he put the ban back on, but whoever takes office next is going to obviously lift the ban again. So anyway, we're in a gray area now politically, but back when this 8th film was filmed, this was the first big motion picture to be filmed in Cuba since that ban was lifted. And it's cool because you see the actual culture, the heritage, the people, the language, the dynamics, that Cuban spirit that Dom and Letty talk about, because his cousin's in Cuba, and there's a whole car race through Cuba about respect. That was an amazing way to start the film, right? And then you have different characters interacting. The team's back together again. The family's back together again, right? So there's Dom, there's Letty, there's Tej, there's Roman, there's Ramsey, there's Hobbs, and then Shaw come into play. So Deckard Shaw and Luke Hobbs are very much enemies at this point. Jason Statham plays Hobbs. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson plays... Jason Statham plays Shaw. Dwayne Johnson plays Hobbs. Now, the 9th Fast and Furious film, which is a spin-off Fast and Furious film, is literally called Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw. I'm going to see that soon. But the Fast and Furious 9 is actually starting to be filmed right now. So we're going to see how the Hobbs and Shaw, spin-off works within that Fast and Furious universe, because the trailer makes it look amazing. So we'll see how that actually works moving forward of their own separate films. So there's no more Hobbs and Shaw than in that Fast and Furious timeline film-wise. Maybe there'll be guest appearances, but who knows. So everyone is working together to stop Charlize Theron's villain character, Cypher, who's another cyber attacker who's trying to gain the nuclear missiles and more codes from Russia to be the crocodile in the water, as she gives the metaphor of. We also find out that Dom has a son, and with Elena we meet in Fast and Furious 5. Elena was then kidnapped with the son Marcos, whose middle name is Marcos. And then eventually there's this whole showdown between Dom and Cypher and Rhodes, her bodyguard, boyfriend, person, and then Elena winds up dying, and then now Dom goes on a spin, because he's playing double agent, basically. He's trying to save his friends, but he's also trying to save his family at this point. He's trying to save both families. His biological son, who he didn't know existed until moments ago, and the family he's been with for about 20 years. It's a thing. It's a thing going on. There's, cameos from different characters from the 5th movie, from Brazil, playing parts in it. There's people from all the franchises coming together in here. So Mia and Brian, Jordana Brewster and Paul Walker's characters are not in this film because they wanted to retire to actually have the family. So yes, Paul passed away in real life, but his character Brian was just retired. So it's not, they didn't kill his character. They just retired his character to let him be a father. And at the very, very end of the film, after Deckard Shaw and Owen Shaw team up together, so Luke Evans and Jason Statham come together to help Dom and their family to save Marcos, to get rid of Cypher, but Cypher escapes in a parachute on this plane, and Deckard and Luke, so Deckard and Owen, Jason and Luke, both wind up with baby Marcos, give Dom Marcos. There's a whole beautiful family thing at the end, and it's revealed that Marcus's first name is Brian. Ode to Brian, the Buster. So it's hard. It's really hard for me to talk about past films when it comes to Brian, when it comes to Paul, because I've always been such a big Paul fan since before the Fast and Furious films, and his death still takes a toll on me. 5.5 years later, I know it's stupid. I've never met him, but listen, it is what it is. You know, I have a tattoo on my arm for him. It's rough. I get really emotional. Thinking about it, the events of that weekend and the following aftermath, and it's hard. It's really hard. So let's see how entertaining and awesome Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw is going to be. I'm very excited. These characters are really well thought out when it comes to backstories all intertwining with each other, and the dark webs and the underworlds, and et cetera, et cetera. So who would have thought a street racing movie from 2001 would actually be this massive billion-dollar franchise which expands to every continent on the globe, literally in the film and in the real world as well. It's such a massive mega hit, and Hobbs and Shaw is going to make so much money, and I'm so excited. I'm rooting for this film. What did you guys think of the 8th Fast and Furious film, aside from physics not existing with a submarine chasing all of our dear friends and the ice not killing everyone? But it's a movie, right? It's a movie. It's a soap opera. We're good. Mucho mahalo, guys.